Hear thee, hear thee. It is time for me to advertise my Patreon, patreon.com/MatthewDonald. There you can find bonus content for Paleobites, where we discuss pop culture featuring prehistoric animals rather than just prehistoric animals themselves. And this month we're talking about walking with cavemen. Another one of those walking with, but it's not really affiliated with the other walking with, like dinosaurs, monsters, and beasts, but it's its own little thing, and yeah, it's alright. Thank you for your support, and have a good day! I'm slapping my belly!
Roar, growl, snarl, bellow.
Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast more of a crisis than Dino Crisis. My name's Matthew Donald, and each week I rotate a series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate a genus of prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week I'm joined by the person who introduced me to the video game Dino Crisis. It's been O'Regan.
Hello, everyone.
No, hello, everyone. How are you all?
Hello. Is that like... I was about to say, is that like a Dino Crisis voice? What would that be? I don't know. Like
No,
the
I was just
dinosaurs
trying to
talking.
do one of those deep, demon, ogre kind of voices that you hear Dark Lords and that generally speaking.
You know, it's funny because like I think about this a lot when like people they don't really do like announcements for movie trailers anymore, like in a world, obviously.
Yeah.
But there are some moments, and I say this is recent, but it's not. It's over 10 years ago now. But when the Pacific Rim trailers, there's one trailer, I think it's the WonderCon trailer, that ends after it shows some action. It ends with the most epic version. Someone be like, Pacific Rim, when it's like reading the title, and it's like I'm imagining the voice actor like in the recording booth. They're told, "All right, say it as badass and epic as possible. Like make it feel like these words are just exploding almost sensually out of your mouth from the awesomeness." So, Pacific Rim. Really get the bass, get the gravelly, really feel it from the throats. It's very entertaining for me to think about, as you can tell.
Sorry, I just zoned out a little bit.
That's okay. But speaking of badass movie, I mean, I wouldn't call this 65 a badass movie, but it has a badass premise, that's for sure. Like, did you ever see 65?
Not yet, but you don't have to worry about spoilers. I know the gist of it. They're alien humans, so they're not actually human, they just look like it, and they cause the extinction.
They don't cause the extinction, actually. They're there, and they have to escape because the asteroid is coming.
Oh, right.
And so they have to leave the planet. They have to get their supplies and leave the planet before the asteroid hits.
And they take the asteroid takes its sweet time in its final approach from to get out, a bit like how prior to the Kai dub of Dragon Ball Z, because of all the filler, Frieza kept adding 5 minutes to Namek's destruction.
The part that like really trips me up in this movie is like when the asteroid does hit. One, it doesn't hit in the sea; it hits like in the mountainous forest or whatever. Which whatever. But like but then also when it hits, like you see the explosion, and in the foreground are these trees in this forest, and it takes them like a second for the fire wave to come and consume it. I'm like, that's instantly everything in like 100 to 200 mile radius is be vaporized. Like there's this really creepy we haven't even talked about what the species is yet, but I mean obviously it's in the title, but it's in this movie. But there's this really scary video that like it's called like Chicxulub Impact in Real Time. It's like envisioning this person does it's a lot of YouTube clips together or movie clips together, and then like does like a counter and shows the map of the world as if what if an absolute twin of the Chicxulub meteor hits the Earth at the same place, same size, did the same damage. How would it affect human civilization? And it showed like the death counter, and the death counter started rising in the millions at the split second before it even hit.
Holy crap. I mean, I've seen an actual depiction of how it would have happened, and I think Last Days of the Dinosaurs, something is because I got a bunch of dinosaur documentaries cheap as a six-pack from JB Hi-Fi a few years ago. I think 2015 or 16 or whenever it opened. And it shows like the asteroid hitting, and then like a migrating herd of Alamosaurus get like hit by it, and there's enough force to like strip their flesh to the bone.
Right, you see like through their skin because you see their skeletons because of yeah, it's pretty creepy. The Life on Our Planet documentary on Netflix, which is pretty good, except it cuts back to the present way too much. But it shows the depiction of the dinosaurs, and it shows like my Edmontosaurus, and they're like caring for their babies, and then it's really sad part because the babies start freaking out because obviously they don't know what's going on, and then the little meteorites start falling, like the impact meteorites, the ones that come from the impact, start falling from the sky, and then the mother like climbs on top of the babies to try and shield them, and it's so sad because they're all gonna die soon.
Well, it's like what you see in Disney's Dinosaur, where Eladar's mother, or at least another iguanodon at the very
But at least he eventually left.
in vain tries to protect her eggs from the rampaging Carnotaurus.
Well, she protected one of them. Actually, well, no, she didn't protect it. It was just pure luck that one of them survived.
But she does try to, like, cover her eggs and get in the way of them to protect them.
Right. It's funny, you never see what happened to her. Presumably she got killed by the fireball, so...
Or she got eaten.
Because she wasn't in the herd. Anyways, we're talking about Fasolasuchus. So, which was the final boss in 65. I thought for the longest time when I saw this was like four-legged T-Rex, I thought they just made it up. But a lot of the creatures, they're not made up. They're actually just really stylized versions of real animals. Like, they're these weird raptor-like ones that are four-legged that he encountered. Those are actually Lagosichus. Oh. And that's confirmed in the soundtrack says Lago Attack for the soundtrack for the scene where they attack. So they're meant to be Lagosichus.
So just another example of wrong time period and wrong geographic location.
Well, I thought that was actually... yes, exactly. It should have been 65. And then we actually, in our pipeline later, we're talking about Sungaripterus. And that's also in 65. So, in fact, there's a bit where the girl's hiding on the beach from the Lagosichus, and there's a bunch of Sungaripterus on the beach. And they're actually designed very accurately, almost in every way, except for the fact that their eyes are where their nostrils are supposed to be.
Typical Hollywood
So
elf.
it makes them have these weird heads, which I 100% think, considering how accurate everything else is, I 100% think that was a stylistic choice to make it look scarier. So
a bit like what they do with Deinonychus in Jurassic World Evolution. They make it look very different from the raptor because they are raptors in the film continuity.
Right. But Fasolasuchus, so at the end they encountered this really big one that kills one of the T-Rexes, which it wouldn't have been able to do, obviously, but it was really big. I always thought Postosuchus or like Saurosuchus were one of the biggest ones. No, this one dwarfs them.
This thing it's 7 meters. It's about as large as a lot of medium-sized Jurassic theropods, like the most common Ceratosaurus species.
It's almost as big as Allosaurus. Like, Fasolasuchus is... Okay, it means it's Crocodile of Tomas Fasola, the paleontologist who found the holotype.
Yep.
Type is a rauisuchian archosaur, the group of reptiles more close related to modern crocodilomorphs. They include the more famous Postosuchus. Yes, one of the last. Was 26 to 33 feet / 8 to 10 meters long, 4 to 5 tons, which makes it the biggest terrestrial predator ever in Earth's history, save for the large theropod dinosaurs. So, yeah, this is the biggest non-dinosaur terrestrial predator of all time.
And it's interesting how they got so large during the period where the Triassic was getting at its most harsh, the conditions that would eventually cause the Jurassic Triassic extinction. So it's like, were they just getting big because that was the only way to survive, or was it just that the big ones were the only ones to show up in the fossil record because the harsh conditions were pushing out all the smaller animals? Like, the bigger you are, you can travel more, you can store more.
Possibly, maybe, and also, like, there was probably a lot of early sauropodomorphs, like basal sauropodomorphs that lived where it was. Like, what was that one? I don't know. It's a Triassic one I think was in Argentina.
Rajahasaurus,
but like it would have been able to. Yeah, it would have preyed. Rauisuchian, yeah, that's right. It would have preyed on that. Yeah, so
and there was still quite a few serious type animals around too. Dynodons.
Well, there was one called Lisowicia, I think. It's Lisowic. Oh, let me see. Lisowicia. Wicia. That was the size of an Asian elephant. So it lived in Poland, though, but there would have been ones like it, I'm sure, in Argentina. So, like, the Triassic is fascinating, man. More and more documentaries should be about the Triassic, I think. Yeah, just the Triassic.
You've got all these dinosaur but not dinosaur animals, like that one that we used to think was a very early ornithomimid, but it's actually a poposaurid or whatever you call them.
Yeah, Poposaurus, you look at it, you're like, that's a dinosaur. It's not a dinosaur. It's a crocodile, or it's a crocodilomorph.
Like the crocodiles, the crocodilomorphs, but they weren't really crocodiles. That role was taken by the pythosaurs, and then you had the not ankylosaurs with the artiosaurs.
Right, where like Desmatosuchus was. Yeah, so, and then you had
and just the sheer amount of final overturn at each point. It was like, even though it started with a mass extinction and ended with one, there was a lot of overturn throughout the whole period. Just like the Permian itself, you first had like the Dimetrodon types, plesiosaurs, and then you had like the Dinocephalians, and then you had Innistrevia and the Gorgonopsids at the end. But like you start off with like a reoccurrence of the late Permian with the cynodonts and stuff around, and then you get a big new mixed assemblage, and then you get the archosaurs taking over it, and then you get the dinosaurs taking over.
Yeah, exactly. But there's ones like Fasolasuchus, which is also early Triassic. It's like, again, this is a crocodilian, but it's like a big bipedal herbivore that, like, it looks like a dinosaur. It's not, though. It's crazy. The Triassic is fascinating, and the way the crocodiles evolved.
The Triassic actually seems to be more the norm with rapid overturn, like a few million years of somewhat stability of similar life forms changing, and then a big overturn, whereas the Jurassic and Cretaceous seem to be a bit unusual. Like, obviously there's a lot of change throughout them, but they're very long periods of stability.
Well, like the Cretaceous especially, because
whereas if you look at like the Cenozoic, we have the Paleocene, Eocene era, and then you've got like the Oligocene, the Miocene, and then there's just constant churn over and change of the mammalian and predator groups all over the world.
Right, exactly. But yeah, no, it was pretty stable in the Jurassic and Cretaceous. And also, to be fair, though, in the Cretaceous, though, there was a lot of changes, like with the flowers. The flowers was a huge change. Like, that changed so much about the world.
True,
and
you
it's
do
when
have
the world started becoming...
Abelisaurs start to become much more prominent in the south, and then suddenly the Carcharodontosaurs and
It's where the Abelisaurs
disappear.
took over the Carcharodontosaurs.
Yeah,
like,
and the Tyrannosaurs
somehow they were
take
better
over in the north. Although I think we do think there were still some Carcharodontosaurs around, they just weren't the monopoly they had anymore.
Right, because I think one of the latest ones was from like 80 million years ago. What was it? It was like, I had to look this up. It's like a Chinese one. It has a funny name because it makes me think of schlong.
Point being, if you can find one around that time, then there's bound to have been ones that haven't shown up in the record that made it to the end or damn close.
Shout Shilong. I mean, shark-toothed dragon. It's a Chinese Carcharodontosaurid. It's only 20 feet long, though. But yeah, so, but no, Fasolasuchus is like, and this kind of stuff with the Triassic, it's incredible that this kind of crazy ecosystem happened in such a short time period. And you're right, it's because it's between mass extinctions. Because when you have that mass extinction, like the first bit is like evolution trying to like beta test itself, trying to see what works and what doesn't, and that's where you get a lot of weird creatures that you would never get otherwise. Sort of like how right after the dinosaurs, you had Titanoboa and Carbonimes, the giant snake and giant turtle,
like
respectively,
you get a lot of animals
that were the top
fill in
predators.
Gaps, but they don't really have time to fine-tune themselves, so something else will eventually take their niche because it's had more time to refine itself, whereas the ones that have quickly come in get brushed aside.
Well, like Lystrosaurus, it's like one of the reasons why it took over so well is because it was so well adapted. It was pretty good at almost everything, but then it started getting outcompeted in various niches where things that were really good at some of the things it did, but not as good at some of the other things it did, but those were taken over by other species, so yeah, like, it's like you can't be a Mario, you have to be like a Wario or like a Yoshi or something more specialized.
Yeah, basically like the jack of all trades, master of none. You're good at things, but an expert's going to push you out.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, yeah, Bowser is big and bulky. Mario is always middle. Like anything in Mario Kart. Any Mario Kart, whatever, Mario is always basic stats, run-of-the-mill, and that's what Lystrosaurus was. Lystrosaurus was the Mario.
Yeah, you see a very similar pattern in that Serena and Natural History of the World of Birds Spec Evo project I keep telling you about, whereas in the Hothouse era,
we need to...
you start off with the fawn grazers are basically like the Lystrosaurs. They've gone in and filled the gaps as the Tribotheres that were best suited and the largest herbivores after the Ice Age ended to... take over, but because they're tripodal animals and also very heavy and very stupid, they very quickly get pushed aside by metamorph birds, which start evolving into dinosaurian-like forms, which become the Suclossi, the Signosaurs and stuff.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And that actually goes back to what we were
yeah.
talking about with hybrids in the previous episode, whereas there's quite a few species in that where they've hybridized enough to become new species, but the new species are still able to interbreed, so you've got a lot of weird evolution happening where these species diverge and then keep crossing their genes back into each other, so like splits into two, then remerges as a newer, stronger, unified line and stuff. It's very fascinating.
Right. That is fascinating. I also think I would like to look into that, because also there's like an idea like for a specific version of like a future Earth sort of thing. Because like some people have theorized, this is more just like a hypothetical concept than anything. Dinosaurs evolved. The perfect place for them to evolve was when Pangea was a thing, sort of which is what happened when Fasolasuchus was here. It was Pangea. And Pangea is going to happen again. There's going to be a Neo-Pangea or whatever it's called. I think there's a name for it. I think that's good. And so what if the surviving birds become like the second, it's like a second age of dinosaurs that starts
and
then.
we already kind of had that in South America with Titanus and that.
Right. But it's like the mammals or whatever get pushed.
Now that they even had a hooked raptorial claw.
Yeah, I know, which some of them still have, like the modern day, there's an animal that's, I forget, it's called the Sereme or well, not the Karacar, it's like the Karacar is like a hawk, but it's like a Sereme, I don't remember what's good, but it has a similar
the
one.
thing that becomes the Caterpillar in Future is Wild.
Which is so cool. But so Fasolasuchus, it's like, and it's in a skeleton here in Singapore with a as in like the museum in Singapore. It wasn't from Singapore, but it was from a sauropod dinosaur called Lesimosaurus, which was about 40 feet long. Wow, that's a big Triassic animal. Holy crap, whoa. 40 feet long. So that's like, we're getting to Rapetosaurus size here. We're getting to Saltosaurus size here, like small Titanosaur size here. And apparently that's what things like Fasolasuchus would have preyed on. So it's almost like a Triassic version of that Chased by Dinosaurs episode where the Giganosaurus go up against the Argentinosaurus.
Fascinating.
So, yeah. Triassic was cool, man. There's so much with the Triassic. Also, have you heard of the Allocotosaurids?
No, I think the name sort of sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
I think they're like, let's see, they're archosaurs, but they're before the split between the crocodile morphs and the dinosaur morphs.
So they're sort of like a bit like what you get with some of like Herrerasaurus and Eoraptor, where there's not quite been a split between sauropods and theropods.
Theropods and sauropods, yeah. But no, this was like, so like one of my favorite Allocotosaurids, it's only because the name is a creature called Trilophosaurus. You got Dilophosaurus and you got Monolophosaurus. How about Trilophosaurus? It doesn't look anything like the other ones, though. It's like a lizard thing, but it has the three crested heads. So
what's its name? Say it again, because I'm going to look that up for once we're done.
Trilophosaurus. So it's like Dilophosaurus, but with TR instead of D.
Oh, yeah. Found it.
Yeah. There's so many crazy things in paleontology. I also learned of recently, I want to do this as an episode as a joke, although it would be a funny episode regardless, is there's a beetle called Tyrannosaurus rex, spelled differently, and it's from the Miocene. Have you heard of this?
No, I haven't.
Hold on. I'm going to send you the link on the
Look at that
Discord
link I sent you
here.
to.
Oh, yes, the Serena thing. Yes, thank you. But here, there we go. Good old Tyrannosaurus rex.
The way it's spelled in there, it also looks like someone called Tirana has a sore ass.
The Tyrannosaurus rex.
Tirana has a sore ass, blame sex.
Oh my goodness. That's what we think of Fasolasuchus, guys.
I knew bugger all about it, I just brought it up because it sounded cool.
Your brain is demented, I swear.
It is.
That's okay, embrace it. But yeah, so Fasolasuchus is pretty cool. Like I said, it has a cool moment, and it's the cool final boss in the movie 65, the movie with a really, really, really cool premise that just didn't quite live up to that premise. Like, oh my god, when I first started 65, I was so excited because one of the issues, because so many people talk about this, after Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, some people are saying, where are all the other dinosaur blockbusters? Where are all the dinosaur blockbusters? The problem with dinosaurs is that since we like to have movies about humans because, save money, whatever stuff, like have human actors. People like looking at humans. And humans and dinosaurs can't mix chronologically. So your whole movie, the whole gimmick has to be how are dinosaurs being together, how are they interacting, and there's only a limited number of ways to explain that, I thought, anyways.
Most of them are all very lame.
Like Lost World, time travel. Like Jurassic Park is unique in that it's a lost world, but it's a human-made lost world. It's like it's all artificially done with genetics, but then those are like that's kind of it really, and then that kind of takes over the gimmick, like any other gimmick. Because most movies you're only allowed one gimmick. I think you can have a pirate movie, you can have a robot movie, you can't have a robot pirate movie. Although I'd see a robot pirate movie.
One ninja pirate robot zombie.
Exactly. So when I heard of 65, I saw these were like human-like aliens, like Kryptons, in like Superman. They're going to Earth from back in the day. I'm like, that is brilliant. A new way to do this, and then they squandered it. But I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's very, very mediocre. I thought it could have been so much better.
Indeed.
But Fasolasuchus was an inspired choice for it, even though it was definitely not 65 million years ago. But who cares? It's a movie.
Basically, if you want a rough idea of what it looks like, people look up what do you call it? Fasolasuchus, for an example.
Fasolasuchus, but way bigger. So, and also Fasolasuchus, I should specify Fasolasuchus from the Walking with Dinosaurs thing. Now we think Fasolasuchus was bipedal. Fasolasuchus we think was a quadruped. So
makes sense. Too heavy at the front.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So I'm gonna rate it like a 64.5 million. I don't know exactly why it's not perfect. I don't.
It's not a
dinosaur.
dinosaur.
We just don't know about. It's not. Yeah, that's right. Good enough for me. It's not a dinosaur, so not perfect. So 64,500,000 is my rating. What about you?
I will rate it 65 million just because it looks friggin' awesome from some of the art that I'm seeing for it on.
Oh yeah.
A Google search, especially
and
the
they did
ARC
a good job
version
making
of it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. It's an ARC. It's an ARC. Did I mention any of the stats? Oh yeah. I think I lost track of the stats. After we started talking about other things. Hold on, let me see. Let me go through this real quick because I remember I brought up that it would be an arc in my notes, but I forgot to mention it here. Hold on, I think we got lost at the time. So it was a carnivore, late Triassic. Location Argentina. Described in 1981. Pop culture appearance. It was in 65, and it was also set to appear in Ark Survival Evolved. So yeah, I think we somehow lost us being in that one.
Oh, that's probably my bad. Sorry about that, everyone.
We just start chatting, words start spilling out of our mouths like molasses.
I don't know what molasses are.
Molasses is like a chocolate thing. It's like warm molasses. What is molasses? Hold on. This has nothing to do. It sounds like it could be a dinosaur. But it's a sugar substitute. So molasses is a viscous substance principally obtained by the refreshing of sugar cane or sugar beet juice into sugar. There we go. Molasses. Anyways, I rate molasses 65 million. Anyways, that's it for this week. If you want to get a hold of the show, you can contact me at paleobitespodcast@gmail.com, paleobitespod on Twitter, paleobitespodcast on Instagram. If you want to contact Ben, just contact it through me. I can relay questions to him or any of the other co-hosts through that email. Rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts if you like. That very much helps the show. I will read 5-star reviews because I really appreciate the listeners and their feedback. I also have a book series on Amazon, Megazoic, available for print and Kindle. No Fasolasuchus. It was before the time that it took place. So,
Indeed.
But if I could, I would, because it's cool. Put rocket launchers on this thing. Anyways, that's it for this week. Say the end of episode of Paleobites. Roar! Okay, we're done.